All right, welcome. It is Tuesday night football roundtable. I am here with the ever-logical David Lodick. How are you doing tonight, David?
Hey, I'm doing good, Sean. Yourself?
I am doing well. I got to eat dinner before tonight's podcast, so
I got so did I.
Something in my stomach because now it's 6 o'clock because of the whole daylight savings time, which we don't do because we're normal people. Hey, Paoli, how you doing, my man? Had a great week this week. We'll be talking about you later. But we are now more than halfway through the NFL season. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the playoff race, but just like the MVP race, I think that's just a little too early. So before we get into the main news of the last week, which has been crazy, and I know we're all going a little nuts at that, but just if you would please like, share, subscribe, and notify for all the latest content and discussions, please get in there. And also down the bottom, ftcsportstalkradio.etsy.com, and get your official gear. And if you get in before David gets his official gear, David will send you a free something.
I got this. Free fantasy football championship ring box. It doesn't come with the ring. You can put whatever you'd like in there, but I will send you this box. It'll only cost me shipping. So,
well, I don't know any man on this earth who turned down a free box.
Right. So, if this does not get you excited, I don't know what can.
I think you should give them the O.J. Simpson jersey behind you because that gift would kill.
Oh, it sure would.
All right. So, so big news of the week. We're going to get into the trades later, but Dennis Allen being fired from New Orleans, which I quite honestly, the first two games, I'm like, holy crap, they're back, and it's been nothing but crap since. And they are naming this is what I can't get over is their special teams coordinator, Darren Rizzi, as the interim head coach. So you fire your head coach, you don't pick the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and you pick your special teams coordinator. And no offense, but
I can tell you why.
Great on freaking special teams.
I can tell you why. And I point absolutely no further than the New York Jets as to tell you why.
Oh, wow.
And I don't mean it in any derogatory way to the Jets. I mean, yeah, you fired your coach. You want an interim coach. The problem is when you are a coordinator on a team from, offense or defense, you have to not only be the head coach and have your brain in the game when it comes to the head coaching decisions, but you also have to coordinate your defense during the week. A special teams coordinator is the position that you can probably pass off or have your assistant run that unit without too much difficulty, especially the assistant to that, because they basically know. But when you are a head coach, your first time being any type of head coach, yet you're still responsible for coordinating the defense, offense, so on and so forth, it's too much on somebody's plate. So I actually think the Saints did it right. This is an interim tag. It gives this guy a little bit of insight into what it takes to be a head coach, and you don't take anything away from the other coordinators that are coordinating your weekly game plan, offensively or defensively. So I think that is the reason why I think it's a good move from that standpoint, because the special teams coach, with the exception of kickoff, kick return, field goal, or punt, you're not and you're not really like as heavily involved in the weekly game planning per se as the offense or defense. So in that regard, I think it's the right call. And I think, like I said, I think it hindered the Jets the first couple weeks just because Albrecht, being your defensive coordinator, has to coordinate the defense and then assume the head coaching duties on a Sunday, which is a very tough thing to do for any coach, but let alone a first-time head coach. So I think it was the right thing to do.
I don't know. From everything what you said, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. I mean, because your special teams coordinator is not out there leading one of the major two parts of the game. There's obviously we know there's three parts of the game, but who's inspiring the players? Who's players motivated? And I don't know. Maybe he could do it. It can't get any worse, and they're better off tanking at this point. Although Dennis Allen has been fired twice, and both times he's been fired, Derek Carr has been his quarterback. So, I mean, that's something to think about. Now, speaking of the last time Dennis Allen was fired, Las Vegas, the Raiders, they fired Luke Getsy, the O coordinator, the offensive line coach, and the quarterbacks coach. Why wasn't Antonio Pierce the one to go?
Well, I think Antonio Pierce is a good coach. I think, unfortunately, I think that the organization from a whole, you're not really giving your team an opportunity when you address your quarterback situation by signing Gardner Minshew as your starting quarterback. You're already starting your team behind the eight ball. Again, I think the Antonio Pierce interim tag last year, I think it was a boost. It gave the Raiders a boost. But again, I think that boost wore off when you just look at the team, and it's really, with the exception of a few players. I mean, you lost Josh Jacobs in the offseason. You trade Devontae Adams. You have Max Crosby, but your whole team itself is just devoid of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you can fire your offensive coordinator, your quarterback coach, your O-line coach, but until you decide to fill the offensive side of the ball with playmakers, whoever you have back there at quarterback is going to suffer. So it to me, it's a question of passing the buck, because you can't fire the players. I mean, you can't cut every quarterback. You can't cut the guys you don't have. So, I think it's a face-saving move that really it just shows that the team is rudderless right now in terms of finding an answer because they don't have one.
Well, yeah, and I will totally agree with you on the fact is when you sign Gardner Minshew to be your starting quarterback, he is an excellent backup quarterback. Excellent. He's just not a starter. And, the one thing I can't stand is, and I'm not getting political here, but all these people with, you pay these football players so much and this, that, the other thing. Well, there are not 32 people in the world that can play that position well.
Right.
There's maybe 12 who play it well, maybe 18 if you go with mediocre.
Right.
But there's just not.
There's probably 5 to 6 elite. There's probably 8 to 10 average, and the rest are just filling a roster spot.
Exactly.
I'm talking about starters. Now, if you go down the line, then you can go into the backups as well. And again, some of those backups, like Minshew, he's a guy who can come in and give your team a spark for 2 or 3 games and hold the fort down until your starter comes back. But you can't go into a season expecting this guy to win 10 games, especially in the AFC West. I mean, it's a tough division. So,
yeah,
absolutely.
I do want to bring up. I'm not going to show the clip because technically we can't because we don't have the NFL's express written consent. But there's a couple of plays that happened this week which were absolutely the Saquon Barkley. Oh my God, what the hell was that? Like that was either the luckiest play ever, or
that was amazing.
Oh my God!
I mean, you can call it lucky, but that's talent, man. When you do it, when you spin, and you see where that guy's coming, and you can still make that move after spinning off a tackle. I mean, that amazing. One of the best plays I've ever seen.
Right.
And it didn't gain anything. I mean, it gained maybe another yard because he got hit as soon as he came down. But just the ability to be able to spin off a tackle and leapfrog backwards, standing still, a defender.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, the thing is, they showed it, and every time they show it from 4 different angles, like one right after the other. And every time you see it, you're like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. So Saquon, because I'm shouting out to Paoli here, he's just like, oh my God, did you see that? I was like, holy crap. Okay, I don't want to give the Jets any airtime. The only thing I'm going to say is that it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' quarterback play that made the Jets win. Garrett Wilson took over that game by himself. Both his touchdowns were terrible passes, and he was able to come down with it. And, that is amazing. I mean, they're comparing it to Odell Beckham. I think Odell Beckham's catch was far and away better, but it was still amazing to watch.
I got a bone to pick with the NFL, and I'm sorry. And I am sorry. And I'm not one to complain about officiating. And, this is more not about the officials because they called the play. My concern is more about the rule book and their interpretation or their, and to me, it goes back to the week before. George Pickens catches the ball. He puts 2 right feet down because his one foot was so far up in the air that he couldn't bring his left foot down in time. So he hops twice on his right foot and then lands out of bounds, and they call it not a catch because his 2 feet, both feet, left and right, were not in bounds. Then last week, Garrett Wilson catches the ball. He gets his left foot down and his shin on the same foot, same leg, touches a half a second or an eighth of a second before his knee hits out of bounds, and they call that a good catch.
Yep.
To me, that is a bunch of crap. It should have been out of bounds. He didn't get his other foot down. I don't care if he got his shin down. He had the same shin on the same leg as the same foot that hit in bounds. If you can take your foot and then drag your shin of the same leg, and they call that in bounds, but you hop on 2 of the same foot to maintain possession and stay in bounds on 2 feet, and they call it a non-catch, that pass should have been incomplete. I think that's crap.
It has to be a different body part, though, dude. And I understand what you're saying, and I kind of agree with you. Like, if I was running down the sideline, I caught the pass, and I hopped on my right foot twice and, like, went, a yard, like hop, yard, and then I went out. That should be a catch to me. But unfortunately, it has to be 2 different body parts in order to establish.
Does it say that in the rules, or it says 2 feet? It doesn't say 2 different body parts. It says 2 feet.
Well, then why couldn't you, when you're going out of bounds, if you can only get 1 foot down, if you tap the toe twice, wouldn't that count as 2 feet?
It should. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying it should.
All right. Well, Eric.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm okay. I get home from meeting, and it's a good meeting. A lot of good productive planning. So I get home from a meeting, and my kid is begging me to get out the door and go lift, and he is throwing a hissy fit. So Happy Tuesday to everybody. At least it's not. I messed up. So we're talking about the Garrett Wilson catch. It was a good catch, right?
Yeah, we're talking about like great plays of the week and some terrible plays of the week. We'd originally talked about Dennis Allen and the Saints, his firing, and then of course everything that's happening in Vegas. They fired everyone but Antonio Pierce. So
maybe the players. I mean, maybe that's a reaction to what's going on in the locker room. But here's the thing. I thought Rodgers is being live on TV on when he's on McAfee's show when Mike Williams got traded today was hilarious because I mean he had to kind of critically think through what he wanted to say, and I thought he was very political on a politically charged day. He was very very political in how he handled it. Good on Rodgers. I don't think he cares too much because I still think he's pissed off that Mike Williams ran the wrong route, and in his mind he's thinking, I'm glad that guy's gone. But the Jets, regardless if whether they make a run or not, Mike Williams is not going to make a gigantic difference in them making a run towards a playoff spot, which they can, because I mean, outside of the Chargers, who's really there at the wild card? So it's really open there, and Mike Williams he'll be a help, but he won't be the difference in Pittsburgh winning a playoff game or beating Buffalo in the second round, though that Preston Smith will be, he's going to help out a little bit because he's going to give them some juice and allow Watt to be a little bit more fresh at the end of games. So, I mean, good on it. That I hope I caught up on all the BS. I'm kind of exhausted from football because, I mean, if you guys know, on a personal note, Jeff comes after me all day long, and I have to defend his nonsense. I have to share.
I'm gonna be the logical Lodick again, and I'm gonna just tell you, you're both spewing nonsense. It's tiring because okay, I'm just gonna get off these topics for a second because we got Eric. So Eric, this is the only thing I ask of you. I'm begging you for this just one thing. And in the chat, you can do whatever. Be a fan. Be exuberant Eric, whatever I called you. Excitable Eric. If that's the word I used, I forget which one I used. There's so many that you and Jeffrey had to dig deep in your thesaurus today to come up with adjectives to describe you guys. So I watched Sesame Street, found the word in 2 minutes. But anyway, here's the deal. I love that you're a fan, and I love that you want nothing more for your Pittsburgh Steelers to be successful, and I get that all the time. And Sean, you're a fan of the Jets, and I know you want them to be successful. That's why you all said Aaron Rodgers was the MVP this year, and the Jets were going to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. You all said that before the season started.
It's not over.
I didn't say that.
It's over. So anyway, my point is this: be critical thinkers. Don't just look at. I love my Bills. They're 7-2. Okay, but I will tell you when they screw up, I am the first one here to tell you how bad they screw up. I will love my team, but I will bitch about them. I will complain about the things that I see, win or lose. I will tell you, yeah, they won, but I will tell you, yeah, they won, but the fandom in you guys, it's like, come on, be what's the word I'm looking for?
Objective.
Be objective. Understand that.
Wait a minute. And so since I think hodgepodge in it, where is Jeff tonight? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm hoping he's coming.
Okay, just because I mean he spit. If I'm taken from his work during the day and he's not missing from the show, then we need to clean up the chat. I mean, I'm just saying right now. Mm-hmm. But ideally,
hey Bill,
if I can't be serious.
You don't like this T-shirt.
I think I'm the most objective person on that chat because I think I share a lot of objectivity. So ideally, when we're chatting, I think I bring everything back to the facts, And so, like, when we're coming up with the facts, I think I'm fair and balanced. I'm not Fox News, but I'm fair and balanced. And I think I think that ideally, I don't talk in hypotheticals, which I think somebody else who's not.
No, you do. Because hypothetically, Tennessee was going to be close.
My picture.
Seattle was going to score 31. That's not objectively.
Miami would be close, did I not?
Sure. And again, and as I said to you today, when we were talking about your Steelers having to have a tough part of their schedule playing division opponents, and you were like Cleveland and Cincinnati, meh. Well, you can say that, but talk to Baltimore, who was beating the shit out of everybody, played Cleveland and lost. And so all I'm saying to you is division games.
Cleveland had a
wait, hold on. Let me finish and then I'll let you talk. Division games. I don't care who it is. I don't care what their record is. I don't care what the standings are. When you play the three teams in your division, they are tough. They can be one-score games. They can be three-point games. They can be last-second games because your division knows you the best. Your division, that is what all those teams, they gear up to beat those teams in their division because those are the most important games. So that's all I say to you is you can look past Cincinnati. You can look past Cleveland. I'm sure Baltimore did, and they found out not to look past them. So all I'm saying from your perspective, you can look past them because you don't realize that division games are an entirely different animal, except the times that Buffalo in the last 5 games that they played Miami have beat them by double digits. So this last game was a little closer. The other 5 before that were double digits. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
All right, Eric, you got 60 seconds, and then we're moving on.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so here's the thing. Dave, you are the logical logic. You both stink with technology. So at our company outing, just know that I'll be coming down with a bunch of IT experts to help you guys navigate the technology better. So ideally, and perhaps I'm starting a fund. So if anybody would like to, contact me after the show, I'll take your change. I'll take whatever. We need to get Dave a better computer. So ideally, he's been struggling with, leading the Dell for all this time. So let's help. Hey, we're in the spirit of unity. Let's unite and help Dave with his computer. Preston, I like Preston. So, and I was telling Dave,
we're gonna get there.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. So going on to Sean, who I deeply care for. Sean and I may have different. I was telling Adam, they may have different beliefs, but Sean is the reason. He's the sanity of the show. So as Sean goes, the show goes. So back to you, Sean.
Thank you. All right. So, because the thing is, and I'm just going to throw this out there, then it's over. But like you guys are talking about all the shit. Nobody who's listening to us right now knows anything about that chat. So you guys are just talking. They have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So we got to stop talking about that. Anyway, I'm going to bring up something Anthony asked. How about Derek Carr throwing the hospital balls? Like receivers say, "Oh, I love my quarterback because he'll throw it. He'll throw it low, he'll throw it high, he'll throw it behind me, so I know." Who the hell's happening? Derek Carr threw that ball, and Olave, and he's my fantasy receiver in my money league. I thought the kid was going to die. What the hell was Derek Carr doing throwing that ball?
The funny thing is when I saw the replays, because I didn't get to watch because I went to the game in Arizona this past weekend. But when I saw the replay, I mean, yeah, the ball was high. It was thrown high. Olave went up for it. But the actual hit itself, from what I saw, because it was an upper view. I didn't see any of they didn't show the close-up view. I only saw I saw it on the Facebook reel or on one of those things where they were just showing the replay of it. The hit itself, between what Woods did and where he was in the middle, it didn't look all that violent where he just laid into him. It looked like he was just caught between the defender on the one side and Woods came in. I couldn't see what, if it was helmet to helmet, if it was that egregious of a hit or if it was just a straight up hit. So I don't know if you guys want to fill me in, but just looking at that, yeah, it was a bad pass from a quarterback that quarterbacks throw a lot in the league. And a lot of times there's not that other defender going across the middle to smack the other receiver. Olave, with this concussion history and the fact that he had one 2 weeks before, was just on the receiving end of a pass, and he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, in my opinion. I don't think Derek Carr was trying to get him killed. Michael Thomas came out and was like, tweeted all this crap about Derek Carr, whatever. I'm sure he feels awful. I don't think it was, and again, I don't remember I didn't see any good angle of the play to find out if Xavier Woods, if the contact was so egregious that caused him to, like, if it was a helmet to helmet or if it was because he was caught between the defender and him. I mean, I think they threw the flag on him, but I don't know how bad it was in terms of hit.
The second he went down, it looked like a tornado hit a laundromat. Like instantly, like flags came in every direct, like every ref on the field.
Oh, I saw that.
And it's, you can judge it any way you want, but the fact is, when you're going over the middle, your quarterback, he has to protect you. Mm-hmm. And maybe the ball did get away from him. Maybe it was, obviously he didn't. I don't think he intentionally wanted to get Olave hurt.
Sure,
but it was just brutal. Because he was like out, like before he even hit the ground, he was just out, and they brought the stretcher out. And thank God he has feeling and mobility. This is like kind of another Tua situation. Getting those concussions. It was not a great play by him. And then Eric, go ahead. Then right after that, I want to get to one more little play. Then we're going to go straight into the trades.
Okay, so here's the deal. Tom Brady said these quarterbacks are being rewarded for we're punishing defenders, but we're rewarding these quarterbacks for throwing up bad passes where the receiver has to stop, and it gives the safety enough time to come over the middle of the field and clean up the play. And it happened to Buffalo. It happened in other games where it was not a great throw, but then we're punishing. And like when on Poyer's end of it, and I'll get to the other hit, on Poyer's end of it, he's lowering himself, not diving, but lowering himself to hit the guy in the midsection. The guy lowers his head. And then on 3rd and long, they call a 15-yard penalty. It's atrocious how much we're punishing football because, ideally, a quarterback lobs it up to the wrong shoulder and a receiver has to stop instead of going forward but take their momentum back. And as the safety's coming at 20 miles an hour, we're expecting the safety to not make a hit and just allow the catch. It's asinine. These quarterbacks are being rewarded for that. They're being bailed out for bad throws. And then we're at the end of the game talking about them like they're some MVP candidate. And they're great. No, you got your receiver hurt because you threw a bad pass. You got bailed out. But we're punishing the safety. We're going to throw a fine out there because the receiver got hurt. And so, Dave, I know we'll get to it. I think there has to be some accountability, and I think it's a rule change that they have to look at hard because we keep legislating, violence out of football, and you can't. Football is a violent game, and so these things are going to happen. So, Dave, I'll let you have it.
Stop tapping.
No. I get hey, look, as a DB, as a guy who it just drives me nuts.
I agree with you, Eric, because this is my issue about the whole thing, and then we'll move on because it's just quick. My thing is in the passing game. You're right. A receiver catches the ball, and when he catches the ball, he brings himself down because he's bracing for impact. And your natural reaction when you brace is to bring the ball and tuck yourself, which you automatically bring your head down. You got a guy running at you who's running face first, and you go like this to brace to absorb the impact. Well, the same guy has the same natural reaction when he's about ready to impact you to brace himself. So he lowers, you lower, and it's always the safety who's getting called for the penalty. When a running back gets the handoff and he'll be running through the line, and he lowers his head into the safety, and the safety gets called for the same penalty when the running back will lower his head into the other player. And what is that other player supposed to do? All he's doing is he's creating a natural reaction to protect himself. And that's the obvious reaction of protection, is to go down and tuck and brace yourself. So you either have to call it or you have to eliminate the call. And that's just the way I look at that situation. You either call it all the time on both ways, or you eliminate the call, period.
Well, absolutely. But I did see one of those new helmet thingies work this week with a Buffalo player, number 7. I forgot his name, but
You mean number 9?
Yeah, the running back from Miami came out and just wow. And so maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I don't know. Okay, the last one I want to talk about is Branch from Detroit. He comes across, the passes completed, and I didn't think the play was that egregious, but then he gets kicked out of the game from New York.
Mm-hmm.
So New York called him, say, hey, get this guy out. I didn't see anything horrible about that. I mean, it wasn't a great hit. He did go helmet to helmet. But, if we're going to allow New York to do those things and say, hey, you got to get this guy out of the game, why can't New York, when people get in a scuffle and a guy throws a punch at a player and the player turns around, throws a punch back, it's always the second guy who gets caught. Why can't they say, hey, both these players, if they can make that call? Go ahead.
Sure. Well, again, and I agree with you. Just like the other night, yesterday, in the Kansas City-Tampa game, they used replay assist to determine that a guy wasn't illegally down the field. Why can't they use replay assist to call a face mask in the end zone? Why can't they use it? Why can't they use replay? Because replay doesn't call face mask, but they can call a legal man downfield. I mean, it's subjective. But more importantly, I heard something that was really kind of interesting to me. Yeah, and you're right, Anthony. Puka did get ejected for that soft punch, okay? And just like Branch got ejected for that hit. And the thing that's funny to me is I was reading something. It was on PFT, Pro Football Talk, and Mike Florio was talking about it. He said that on games that are national, that have more viewership, New York tries to promote a cleaner image on those games, the more high-profile games that are on. So they're more intently scrutinized and watched as opposed to the 1:00 games that are all over the thing. So to me, if you were going to eject somebody, Xavier Woods should have been ejected for knocking out Chris Olave as opposed to the hit that Bo Melton took and he got up and walked away. So again, it's the appearance of, hey, we're doing good. We're worried about player safety. Yeah, but if you watch the other 8 games at 1:00 and they're regional broadcast and not broadcast all over the world, you ain't worried about player safety. You're worried about your image. So that's my thoughts, Eric. You got
maybe in the 1:00 games we do like a Thunderdome. 2 teams enter, 1 team leaves. And it's just a bloodbath, and it's all good. Eric, what are your thoughts on? We were talking about Branch on Detroit.
I mean, this is the same topic and we don't have to spend a lot of time on there since it's just the 3 of us, and Jeff's not here. I wish he was, because Jeff and I probably go back and forth on this one, but it's the same thing. I mean, so like the people that are running this league are offensive minded. The owners want offense. They want to score. Peyton Manning came into the league, and he was lighting it up. Everybody was really excited. It was exciting. The Rams, and then you had Brady and what he was doing. And the league just got obsessed with, like, how can we do this every Sunday? How can we get 45-31? How can we get all this exciting records being broken? Manning throwing for 55 touchdowns. That isn't realistic football. I mean, that was a really great year. It was a great time, but there were records that were being broken. They're records for a reason, because they're hard to achieve. And so now we're trying to change what football is, and we're trying to legislate anything that can stop that from happening. Because what it comes down to is so it looks violent, it hits, it can be that way. It comes down to money, right? It comes down to we're taking away from what our moneymaker is, and not to say football is a business. I enjoy youth football, high school football. A lot of it's pure. When you start to get advertisements and you start to get all this different money in, you get all this corruption, which is the owners. This is where the NFLPA and the owners kind of struggle with each other. This is where they struggle with discipline. And this is where I think eventually you're going to get a work issue that's going to cause a potential work stoppage. Because the more defense is over legislated, the more we over punish these kind of things, eventually you're going to get players who don't want to play the position, or players who are going to be making business decision rather than team decisions and making a tackle. You hear a lot of frustration from defensive players. I think it's a problem that's going to escalate over time. It's one thing if you take your head and you're spearing somebody. I get that. But it's another thing if you're going 25 miles an hour, and like Dave and I talk about, a receiver is stretched out, and you're trying to get there and lower your shoulder. If your head hits them, it's a violent game. You sign that contract to make millions of dollars with the risk that something bad could happen. Bad things can happen in anything you do. We can't over legislate and stop the game from what it is.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's move to the trades of the day. And we're going to start off. I'm going to give you some room here, Eric. Pittsburgh, they got the linebacker Preston Smith from Green Bay for his 7th rounder. And they got wide receiver Mike Williams from the Jets for a 5th rounder. What are your thoughts on these? And we had people asking about that before. So now I told you we bring it up. We're bringing it up.
All right. So I won't be as passionate, so there won't be any tapping here. Mike Williams is a good piece, but he's not supposed to come in and be a savior. He's just a piece to help the offense ideally be better than what it can be. 1 second.
Okay.
No. So let me pick that up real quick, and I'll let him jump back in. Yeah. So what I like about the trade for Mike Williams is it gives Pittsburgh more options. Okay. It really gives them 4 receivers. They can spread out. They can go to 4 wides now. They can utilize Russell Wilson's passing efficiency because since Russell Wilson's comes in, he has been, he throws a great ball. He puts it in places where the receiver has the opportunity to make the catch. I take nothing away from Russell Wilson and what he can do.
Dave, can I add in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. You jump in now.
I do apologize. On top of running a bank or running a credit union, I coach football, and then I come home and I got to do this, and I've got kids too. So I apologize. I multitask. So what Mike Williams, the trade, he's not supposed to be a guy that gets 1,500 yards and makes a great difference like Devontae Adams is supposed to do for Sean. What he can do is improve the red zone presence with a big body. He can be a reliable possession receiver. He can be a guy that contributes, and if he gets 400, 500 yards, he did his job. Now, the bigger deal is the Preston Smith one. I think somebody asked about that.
Yes.
So Preston Smith, what he could do is he could be a pass rusher that can get Watt Highsmith off the field and keep them fresh down the stretch. Is Cleveland going to compete with them? Yes. If they lose to Cleveland, is that a bad day? It's going to be a bad day because they're better than Cleveland. Should they beat Cincinnati? They should beat Cincinnati. These are going to allow them, if Cincinnati's close in that game and they're on the road at Cincinnati, Preston Smith is going to eat snaps in the second and third quarter. That TJ Watt's going to be coming hard on that last drive because he's not going to be having to play 90 snaps. So what you're doing is you're preserving your best bullets for when you need them. When a team starts driving down the field, you can throw Watt back in there after Preston Smith takes 6 or 8 snaps. It's a good addition. especially if Herbig comes back, because then they can do a hockey shift and take those two outside linebackers out, and they can put Herbig and they can go ahead and put Preston Smith out there as a rotational. And they can also ideally take Ogunjobi out and line Preston Smith up on the inside because he's a versatile player. So he's a bigger hit. I see that his cap hit. I can promise you that his money is not guaranteed, that he will either be a 1-year rental or he'll be reworking that contract, that he probably will not be paid that next year.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I think the one thing, again, I think it'll help your rotation on your defensive line because, again, your defensive line is older, Eric. I mean, I look at Pittsburgh's line. You got Cam Hayward. You got those guys. So, if you have a guy like Preston Smith come in there and have him be the edge rusher, you can rotate Cam out. You can keep both these guys fresh. They're both in their 30s. So if you have a fresh rotation of these guys coming in and out, I mean, I just say it from the standpoint of what I know about rotational defense, and it can be very helpful, and it can keep your line fresh, and it can do things. It can help your team stay fresh and be there when they need to be. I think it's a good trade. And again, like I said, the only thing that I will say is what I have liked about Russell Wilson coming in to your offense. And I know I give you crap about it, but what I like about him is it has opened up your offense enough, and him as a quarterback has allowed both Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin to take advantage of the good quarterback play. And my hope for Pittsburgh is bringing in a Mike Williams doesn't take away from the things that Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson have been able to accomplish with Russell Wilson as the quarterback. Because, again, the one thing we know, the more mouths you have to feed, there's only one ball on the offense. So sometimes too much, or sometimes a bunch of good stuff can be too much sometimes. So I'm just hoping that doesn't pull away from what Austin and Van Jefferson have been able to do for Pittsburgh over the last couple of weeks.
All right. We're going to talk about in-depth two more. So I'm just going to quick list off some of them. If you guys wanted to talk about any specific one, we can. But defensive tackle Khalil Davis went to San Francisco from Houston for a 7th-round pick. The Baltimore Ravens picked up Tre'Davious White from the Rams for a 7th, and their defense sucks, so why the hell not? Dallas got wide receiver Mingo from Carolina for a 4th-round pick, but Dallas is such a mess now. They could have traded for Jesus Christ, and they're not going to do anything. Cincinnati got a little help running back with Herbert from Chicago.
I think that helps them. I mean, with Zach Moss going down, Khalil Herbert is great in run between the tackles, and I think he complements Chase Brown. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, well, they had to do something without Moss. I mean, you have Brown, right? Chase Brown?
Yep.
And then Moss going down. This definitely helps them out. And then Arizona got a linebacker from Denver, Browning, for a 6th-round pick. Now, the two I want to talk about, number one is Detroit getting outside linebacker Zadarius Smith from Cleveland for a 5th-rounder this year and a 6th-rounder in 2026. I know you cannot replace Hutchinson, but this is a huge piece that they needed. And I think, Detroit is like, this is our year.
Sure.
And
going all in.
To see Detroit win a Super Bowl, I mean, like, we're talking cataclysmic things are happening.
Sure. But again, I think this trade just confirms that Detroit believes in their window. And, one guy goes down like Hutchinson. No, Zadarius Smith does not replace Aiden Hutchinson, but he's a good guy to have. He can still put pressure on the quarterback. He can still do the things, maybe not to the extent that Aiden Hutchinson can, but what he can do is he can take pressure off your other linemen to help your defensive line, help them against the run game, help them with the pass rush, those type of things. So you can never have enough good edge rushers. And when you lose an Aiden Hutchinson, no matter who your backup is, you always want to have that upgrade because you want to maintain what you've been doing. And I think now that they have him, their defense can get back to the more of an attack type of defense that Dan Campbell likes. So I think it's a great move.
Yeah. Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't disagree. Look at the NFC. Like, who is there? Like Arizona? I mean, because Arizona's one of their division. And so it's like, why not try to win it right now? Because who is there? I mean, it isn't like KC where in the AFC where they're the heavy favorite. I mean, you've got in that conference, just it's wide open. It's Detroit, right? They've just beat Green Bay. Who else is going to stop them? So they beat Minnesota too, right? Have they played Minnesota?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean they've got the driver's seat right now. Why not try to win it? We could talk AFC teams because that's wide open outside of Kansas City. Maybe is with Kansas City. I'm still not impressed, but on that side of the fence, if not them, who?
All right. I thought it was a good trade. It's definitely going to help them out. Now, this is the trade for me of the day is Washington acquiring Lattimore from New Orleans. And New Orleans gets a third, a fourth, and a sixth round pick out of this. That's a huge haul.
Sure.
So
no, I like it. Marshawn Lattimore has not given up a touchdown to a wide receiver in 30 games. In 30 games, he has not given up a touchdown to a wide receiver. The last touchdown he gave up to a wide receiver was when Buffalo played New Orleans and Stephon Diggs scored a touchdown on him. That was 2.5 years ago. So he has not given up a touchdown. It's going to be huge for Washington. It will help them in the NFC. It'll help them against their division opponents. It'll help them against Malik Neighbors. It'll help them against CeeDee Lamb. He'll be going up against those number one receivers. So it will be a huge addition to an already good team at 7-2. And then with the injuries to Dallas, what they suffered over the weekend, that division is pretty much wide open for Washington and Philly to battle out. But no, the trade itself, I think, was excellent. I know that there were the three teams that were involved in that, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Chiefs, and the Commanders won out. I'm happy that they did as a AFC fan. So, no, it was a great trade. And what it does is it shows that, now you got to take the Commanders seriously. A couple of years ago, they were a joke. They were a running joke. And they drafted Jaden Daniels, and nobody really expected them to be where they are. But when they got there, Washington didn't rest on the fact that, we got there. Now they look at their opportunity. They look at the NFC like Eric did. And with the exception of Detroit, maybe, because Detroit's lost 2 games, so they're not beatable. Washington said, this is our opportunity. Let's do it. And it was nice to see them go in and actually do something to bolster their team. So,
yeah, that's kind of where they were lacking, experienced DB. Okay, so we're going to go on now, and we're going to talk about the games of last week, some games we need to discuss here.
Before we do that, Sean, can I just give one thing? Because I know we're not going to talk about this game because we don't care. But I just have to talk about this game because I was there. And I just have to tell you all, anybody watching, anybody who's curious, I went to the Chicago Bears Arizona Cardinals game. And I don't think that's on your list of games to talk about, was it?
It's my last one on the list.
Okay, well, then I'll wait till your last one on the list. I didn't know you were going to talk about it. I didn't think it was worth talking about because I was there, But
because it's going to segue into the idiot coaching decisions of last week.
I will give my opinion on that when we get to it.
Okay. So we got Lions in Green Bay. Now, Detroit went in there in the first quarter. I'm like, oh, Dan Campbell's going to make my idiot coaching decisions of the week as usual. Green Bay jumped off sides, so then it became a non-issue. But good game, and is Jordan Love like is this like the sophomore slump? Is this what's happening here?
Go ahead, Eric. I'll let you answer first.
No, I mean Detroit's just really good, and he's got injuries, so he's beat up. I tore my hip adductor in my grind, and I remember I couldn't take my leg on an inward step for about a month and a half. So if he's got anything, I know he's got a groin injury. If he's got anything like that, yikes! I mean, he's that's hard. That's a tough injury. I know Cam Hayward had surgery and was out for like 2 months with the injury last year. So no, he's beat up. He had a knee injury. He's going through injuries, but injuries can mentally affect you where you're not the same because you start to have injuries pile up, and then that could be weighing on him. It could be a mental thing of, this really sucks. Because what happened to Andrew Luck, right? Andrew Luck was lighting the world on fire, and then he can't do this anymore. And so I think some of that's the mental part of having to fight through the rehab, fight through, going through an injury like he's had. And Detroit's good. And so if you're not at 100%, if you can't move, if you can't do the things, football's you're half second late, half second slow, you don't quite make it. We've heard the Al Pacino speech in Any Given Sunday. It's true. And so he's just not physically there right now. They should sit him and let the kid get healthy, 100% healthy, and, play the other kid behind him and let this guy kind of build up his confidence again before you throw it back out there. Because it's one thing to want it. The NFC is wide open. I get it. But it's also, you've got a franchise quarterback. You got to look at the long-term effect of what playing through these injuries against these elite teams is going to do to them.
And the fact is the Packers are the youngest team in the NFL. I mean, I think their average age is 15 and a half or something like that. And so they got plenty of time to, okay, so you wanted to make a run this year, but that's not going to happen at this point.
And again, I think the biggest thing, Sean and Eric, they have Malik Willis behind him, and he's won. So it's, to me, they have a luxury that a lot of teams don't have because they've had to use Malik Willis, and Malik Willis has come in and proven that he can get through those 2 or 3 game stretches and win. And if not win every time, at least be competitive in those games. So to me, if I'm looking at it from a long-term perspective, I get you want your best guy in there when you're playing the best team in the division or the conference and the division. So you go into the mentality that I want my best guy. But if your best guy at 75% is worse than your backup, sometimes you have to have that perspective and say, I don't need to have the best guy. I need to have the right guy being able to do all the things that he can do, as opposed to my starter who's limited in what he can do. Now, I didn't see the game. I didn't look at what he was doing, if his mobility was hampered, if his throws were hampered, if his body positioning, if he felt like he had to, if he was favoring one part of his body or not. I don't know. But to me, like I say, when you have a backup quarterback who's proven he can win when he has to come in and play, give your starter or give your franchise guy a rest and let him get healthier, because unfortunately nobody's 100% healthy at the end of the NFL season anyway. But let him get healthier.
Very true. I'm trying to look at, because he's thrown a lot of interceptions, which was the problem. All right, we're going to move on to the next game. Dallas at Atlanta. This was probably one of the most comical games of the week. Dallas looks absolutely horrible. CD got hurt, and not that that's funny. Comical meaning that after Dak got hurt, he's on the sideline. The camera points at him, and you can see him tell his teammate, "We fucking suck." So that's not really up for debate. You don't have to be a lip reader to know what he said. But you got Dak's hurt for a couple weeks. He ain't coming back. CD, he's hurt, and he's going to be week to week. And then they go out and trade for another receiver. At this point, Dallas, you were in the Cancun room 2 weeks ago with us, right? So why at this point, I understand Jerry's trying to do something, but this was a game they just got thoroughly beat down, and by a defense who was really good but didn't have their starting safety, who's awesome, and they were missing some pieces. So this game was just a little brutal.
If there was no white towel before, there is now. This season's over. I mean, not taking anything away from Cooper Rush, but they have no horses. I mean, they have none. If CD's going to be week to week, they've got Jonathan Mingo, who they traded for from Carolina. They got Jalen Tolbert and
Ferguson.
This is beating a dead horse.
Jonathan
They
Mingo.
got no running backs. They got nothing.
Jonathan Mingo is a good prospect to develop. I mean, I was looking at his profile, boys, and he's only 23.
No.
I mean, get him a lot of reps and get him better at your position. Get some of these young guys better at their position. So this is one of those Jordan Love conversations that we're going to have. The Packers are the youngest team, so now there are guys who are going to be needed to get reps and get better, so they could make a run. Dallas could be a team in a year or two if they play this right. That could be really, really good because they take advantage of this time right now, and they play these guys to get reps.
I agree with you 100%, and that's the thing. I think the one thing that people were clamoring for was to have a number 2 in Dallas to take pressure off of CeeDee Lamb. Now, do I think Jonathan Mingo can be that guy? He might be. I mean, he never had the opportunity in Carolina because Carolina never had anybody that could even prove that there was a number 1 receiver in Carolina, let alone a number 2. So, we'll see what happens. But
clean all the food out of the sink.
All right. Next game we're going to talk about Miami Buffalo. This one kind of going to go with my idiot coaching decisions of the week, but good game. I mean, it looked ugly at the beginning, and then it got real interesting. Tua coming back, thank God he was okay. He learned how to slide. We could see that. Overall, good game, and it was nice to see Buffalo with very little time on the clock be able to go down and actually kick a field goal.
Well, again, we talked about the penalty, and again, I'm not one to make excuses, and I'm not one to blame officials because there's penalties that go for you, there's penalties that go against you. I could sit and dissect 2 touchdowns that were taken off the board on phantom holding calls or whatever. It happens. It's the NFL. People aren't perfect. Officials make calls. We got to live with them and so on and so forth. I will say this. What I love this year more so than any year of watching the Bills over the last 5-6 years is they go in at halftime and they adjust. They come back out in the second half. They look like a different team, whether they're winning or whether they're losing. They adjust to what that offense is doing. And if they're this week's game, I will say, again, Buffalo's Achilles heel is stopping the run. And Miami did a hell of a job running the ball, getting yards, using their speedy running backs and A-Chain and Mostert to eat up yards on the ground. That's been an issue all year. We saw Derrick Henry do it against us. We've seen other running backs do it against us, so it's nothing new. We pretty much shut down the wide receivers. I mean, into the fourth quarter, until the last 2 drives, I believe, Jalen Waddle had 0 catches for 0 yards, and Tyreek Hill had 1 catch for 6 yards. He ended up with 4 catches for 70 yards or something like that. And Jalen Waddle had 2 catches for -4 yards and a touchdown, which is a very interesting stat. Got to have that.
Yes.
And also, I think Vegas played a role in it because Tua's over yardage was 249.5, and then Jalen Waddle ran like 14 yards backwards and got down to 235. So it's like, damn, dude. But anyway, that being said, I'm just kidding about the biggest thing. But no, it was a good game. The fact that Tyler Bass can't kick an extra point, but he can kick a 61-yard field goal, fantastic. Again, it's still a cause for concern. I'm glad he hit the 61-yarder and we won it. But if I'm Buffalo, I'm still concerned about my kicker because you got to be more consistent. You wouldn't have put your team in that spot. But be that as it may, great game. It's a division game, and division games go that way. You're not going to blow out your division opponents all the time. So I was happy with it. Eric, do you have anything to add? Or
so, like, we're not going to get too far in the weeds on this Buffalo game because I'm not going to beat you up on it too bad. There's a couple critical plays that really hurt. One, the holding on the red zone, I can live with that. I can see the hold on third down. I mean, that helped out tremendously. The good on the kicker. I'm really happy for the kicker, and I'm about to phrase this before I hit you with the meat sandwich. If I'm Jordan Poyer, I'm disgusted. I'm sick. At 20 miles an hour, what he's supposed to do in that situation on 3rd and long. I mean, you're supposed to cede the catch and not play defense. Buffalo got a gift, a big gift, to be in that position. And if I'm Miami, I'm pretty demoralized because, I mean, they've been getting beat up. They had you on 3rd and 15. You're going to go to overtime. Who knows what happens in overtime? But they gave themselves a shot to win. And to have that yank from them, the minute that penalty got called, that game was over. And I hate situations like that. I don't think officials should have. They should keep in mind the situation. They should keep in mind the intent, and they shouldn't make calls that cost games. That was a game calling. It was a bad call. I mean, it was. If we're gonna say anytime the helmets connect, I mean, we're gonna be calling flags all day long, and that's not what the product is. We cheated we cheated the viewer. We cheated everybody around by making that call when we made that call. Good on the kicker for making the 61-yard field goal. He's been going through it. That was great. It was a great field goal. He deserves all the love in the world for that. Miami's weakness is just lean on him and pound him. Or not Miami, I'm sorry, Buffalo. Lean on him and pound him. Cut, dice, slice, and you're going to get yards. And they've shown this year they're giving up lots of yards, lots of points. But they have an offense that can score. So if you're going to give them freebies, you're not going to win because their offense can score and can take advantage of opportunities like that. So as a fan, as a non-biased fan who's just watching a football game, I was kind of disappointed in how it ended. But the better team won.
All right. I'm going to skip one of the games here, but just the second to last game I want to bring up real quick, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it's really not worth it. But New Orleans at Carolina. Now, I'm sorry, man. I don't care how bad you are, and I understand Carolina's going to win. Weird shit happens. But this game, like, how do you not just hang your head in shame?
As I said, and as I will continue to preach, I don't care how bad your team is. I don't care how good your team is. New Orleans looked like world beaters the first 2 weeks, scored 96 points in 2 weeks. Everybody was like, we thought Dennis Allen would be fired after week 3. And when you come out and do the things that you do, he had a little reprieve. But as I've said on this show from the beginning, as I said to you, time and time again, division games are a different animal. You can be 1-0 and 10-9 Carolina going up against your division opponent, and records and all that don't matter. It's how you prepare. It's what you do. Your team knows that other team inside and out, from tendencies to probably what they ate for their pregame meal. And that is why, was I shocked that Carolina won? I was a little surprised, but it doesn't shock me. Because, again, be that as it may, division games are division games. Everybody thought that they were going to come in. I mean, New Orleans had yardage. I mean, Alvin Kamara ran up and down on the field, couldn't put the ball in the end zone. Bad pass knocks out your wide receiver, Chris Olave. You don't really have many weapons beyond that besides Kamara and Taysom Hill. So, you play with the hand you're dealt. Division games are what they are, and good on Carolina. Bryce Young got his 4th win ever or something like that. So good on him.
But this wasn't a trap game. Like, I could see if Carolina was playing, San Francisco or something.
No, it's a division game.
I understand. But Eric, your thoughts?
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, so the last game talk about is the Chicago at Arizona game. David, take it away.
So I was at this game, and I got to tell you, I have no dog in this fight. I have no favorite in this thing. I'm just going to let you know something. Caleb Williams looks awful. He is a bad quarterback. He holds the ball too long. He does not know how to hit a wide receiver. He does not know how to throw open to wide receivers. And this has been the Chicago Bears problem forever and ever and ever. They hire the worst coaches to coach up their quarterbacks. I don't know what it is. They are so stuck in the mystique of the defenses win games and all this stuff. They have not gotten out of their heads that the NFL is a different game altogether. Because I'll tell you what, I watched that guy live and in person hold the ball for 6 seconds running around. DJ Moore, I think he hurt his hammy or something for a minute, and he just walked off the field. He's in the middle of a play and just walked to the sideline, walked to the bench. Coach had no idea why. I didn't even ask him. But more importantly, I watched Caleb Williams have a guy getting open, and he would not throw him the ball until he was wide open, and by that time the ball was going behind the receiver because he does not know how to throw receivers open. He's still looking at it from a college game where my guy has to have 3 yards of separation before I think he's open. And he does not have a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, whoever to teach him how to throw open players. Kyler Murray, awful. This game was like watching paint dry. I know Arizona put up 29 points or whatever the score was, but game was not close. It was awful. Both these teams, I know Arizona, by way of their record, is in first place in the NFC West. They don't deserve to be there. They are not a good team. And a team that has any type of offense can beat this team easily. It was just a sad display. I'm sorry. I found nothing compelling or appealing or anything that I would say oh, this team has hope, or oh, this team no, awful. Just awful. Didn't find a thing about it.
Eric, do you have any thoughts on this, or we just want to continue?
Chicago and Arizona?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So we're going to move on.
Idiot coaching decisions of the week.
What an idiot! That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life!
What are you, ignorant?
Are you stupid or something?
Stupid is, stupid does, sir.
One of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point could be considered a rational thought.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You are a fucking idiot.
Okay. So we're going to continue with the Arizona-Chicago game real quick. Why on earth, when you're down by 20 points, 20-something seconds to go, do you still have your starters in there? I mean, you have to have some kind of brain in your head to try to protect these people. And, yeah, Caleb Williams got hurt. We don't think it's too bad. But what goes into that coaching decision? Just maybe like, hey, embarrass you bad enough, you're going to pull your head out of your ass?
I said the same thing. I'm like, I was watching that. I'm like, why is Caleb Williams in that game? I go, he's going to get hurt. And sure enough, last play of the game, the guy went right at his knees, or he was running, and the guy was going down to tackle him, and he came up limping. I'm like, what coach in their right mind would put that guy out there when you're down by 22 points or 19 points with under a minute left and no opportunity whatsoever to come back? I mean, to me, if that doesn't get a coach fired just for incompetence, I mean, that's just negligence. That's like if you own the team and you're paying Caleb Williams this kind of money, he's going to be your franchise quarterback. You would have your freaking your insurance revoked by Geico if you did something that egregious and stupid. This guy should have been fired. I can't believe that he was still out in that game. I said that while I was watching it. I'm like, this is crazy.
Eric, any thoughts?
I hate to be that guy. Are we still in Arizona and Chicago?
Well, he just talked about dumb coaching decisions.
I know, and there's dumb coaching decisions all over the place in that game. I'm embarrassed to say that because Dave was there, I was somewhat paying attention. But as far as it's a dumb decision to put him back and risk him, I agree. But, I mean, it's Chicago. Are we surprised? I mean, some of these teams, like Arizona, Chicago, Carolina, the Browns. Jeff's not here, but the Browns, they're never going to compete because they're bad. And they have a culture of being bad. So this is just more of that culture.
All right. And the last thing I want to go over, there were 3 teams this week. And you all know I don't like going for 2 most of the time. But there were 3 teams all on the road that they scored with very little time left and could have gone for 2. Do I think it was idiot coaching decisions? No, you tie it up, you go to overtime, give your team a chance. But certain things, if you're down by 2 touchdowns, you don't go for 2 points to say, oh, well, then we can win the game. You wait till your last try. Miami, New England, and last night, Tampa Bay. Was it an idiot coaching decision not to go for 2? Obviously, they didn't win, so you can say yes. But you're at Kansas City at night. It's raining. You're from Tampa freaking Bay. You're used to the rain, but not the cold. New England's, they only go for 2 when they're down by 14. And Miami going into Buffalo. Why wouldn't you try to go for 2 there? Get that game out of there because you just lost to Arizona. Thoughts, Eric?
So I like going for 2, definitely in Tampa Bay, right? Because I think that in that situation, what do you have to lose? Because you're going to go to overtime with Patrick Mahomes. I know he hurt his ankle, but still, I mean, it's like I'll take my odds to get 2 yards. So that one, yes. The Miami one, I think a little extra pressure on Allen, but I don't. You have nothing to lose. You have 2 wins. So what do you have to lose? And then what was the third one? Oh, the
New England at Tennessee.
You both suck. What do you have to lose? I mean, yeah. I mean, I go for 2 in that situation too. Drake May just pulled a play out of his ass. So you know what? What are the odds that he's probably going to be able to? The defense is going to be tired in that situation from chasing him, which was a phenomenal play for 35 seconds. Chasing him, why not just go ahead and run slice right up the middle and see if that you can get a tired defense to allow you to give 2 yards. All 3 of these teams, and I hate to say this, Tampa Bay is heading to the Cancun room. All 3 of these teams are going really bad. So why not try to win the game and get 2 yards? I'm with you, Sean. Idiot coaching moves.
Yeah. Like I said, I think obviously I think the Buffalo game, when you're Miami and you're at the position you are in the standings and you're trying to get up, you're trying to stay in that conversation to not go for 2, because if I'm not mistaken, because I watched the second half, I have it taped at home and I watched it when I got back from the football game. But if I'm not mistaken, Buffalo scored on every one of their second half possessions. I don't think they punted the rest of the game. I think they used all their punts in the first. So the fact that, and really both teams were having issues stopping each other in the second half. I mean, it was back and forth. They kept trading blows. So if I'm Miami at that point, Buffalo hasn't stopped me from scoring a touchdown. Why is Buffalo going to stop me from putting 2 points on the board? Okay. Why am I going to give them the ball back with a minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever was on the clock when they got the ball? Why would I give them that opportunity? At least I could give them the opportunity with me being in the lead and them putting the pressure on for them to go down and make the play to have to win by me having the lead. So because in those situations, the pressure changes on you, because the way I look at it, when you're tied, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to go get a flip of the coin and then you're going to have another opportunity. When you come down there with pressure that you're behind, now the sense of urgency and that pressure that tightens you up a little bit because you want to be perfect. So Miami definitely. Tennessee and New England, who gives a shit? They could have played to a tie or they could have done, I don't care. Dumb decision, obviously, but who cares in the grand scheme of things? Tampa Bay, definitely you should have went for 2 points because you weren't going to get the ball back. And the funny thing about it is, if you guys watch that game, was it 3 weeks ago? I forget who they were playing. And Kansas City and the team they were playing went to overtime. This was their second overtime game this season. And the team that they went to overtime and there was the coin toss. And the team asked for the ball. Well, Patrick Mahomes came running off the field and he was so excited because they said, oh, they won the toss and they wanted the ball. They want the ball. They want the ball. And then the guy was back there and he goes, oh, yeah, I forgot. He goes, I didn't know that, but if we score, they get the ball back. If we only get a field goal, they get the ball back and they get an opportunity to score. Last night, Kansas City knew that Tampa was on the ropes and they knew they had their defense tired, beat down. And the minute that they won the coin toss, Patrick Mahomes says, we'll receive. I knew the game was over as soon as he did that because he could have gave them the ball first and went down, but Kansas City's offense was rolling. That's why I said, give us the ball, and we'll just go down there and score on them. So, dumb decision all around.
Yep. And Baker Mayfield, as soon as they won the toss, he was like, oh, God, here we go.
Yep.
All right, so I want to discuss 3 games coming up next week. I just want to talk about 2 others real quick, and I just want a quick answer out of both of you. New England at Chicago. If New England wins this game, is it the EOE, the end of Eberflus? And Philadelphia at Dallas. If Philadelphia goes in and crushes Dallas, is that Mike McCarthy's last game?
Yes.
I would say it should be for Eberflus, I think McCarthy gets the pass and the excuse because he'll probably be minus Dak and CeeDee Lamb. So McCarthy will get a pass on an excuse. Eberflus, it should be his last game.
Okay. So if Chicago wins, they're not going to fire him. But if they lose,
I don't think they win.
I don't know. I just don't know who Chicago is right now. Okay, so the three games I want to talk about. Number one, Cincinnati at Baltimore. That's a big game. They went down. They scored 900 points last time they played in Cincinnati. What do we think is going to happen this time?
I think it'll be closer. I think the result will probably be the same. Again, division games are always tough, but I just look at Baltimore's offense with Derrick Henry and the things that Baltimore is able to do offensively. Again, I think they're going to struggle on defense. I think if Joe Burrow gets into a rhythm and if T. Higgins is healthy and can play this week, I think from an offensive standpoint, they're going to create problems for Baltimore because the Ravens' secondary is not very good. So from that point of view, I think it's going to cause problems. The thing that Cincinnati needs to be able to do is stop the run. If they don't stop the run, this game can get ugly fast.
Okay. Eric?
So it can't get much closer than a botched field goal attempt where I believe the long snapper and the holder kind of miscommunicated and they missed the kick in overtime to win. Can't get much closer than that. So I think Cincinnati is going to be very favorable here. Baltimore score points, but they are giving up 25 points a game. And they are giving up the fifth worst yardage in football. And I still think they're either the worst or among the worst pass defenses in football.
They're 28 or something. They're
okay. So they're going to get thrown on. Here's the deal: if Baltimore doesn't fix, now, I in my heart didn't think I wanted Denver to win, but I did not think Denver was going to win, and I did not think Denver. I don't think Denver's that good, so I'm not taking that Denver game. I don't buy the Broncos. Not impressed by them. I don't think they're great. This will tell me if their defense if they're working towards fixing it, and if they don't, they are not going to go into the playoffs with the 27th or 28th ranked pass defense and go win a Super Bowl. I don't care if you have Derrick Henry. I don't care if you score 40 points. You're going to have an off day, and if your defense can't stop anybody, you're going to get beat, and they'll be one and done because they can't stop anybody. So I mean, they get Trey White. I mean, maybe that helps a little bit, but I'm not a believer in that defense. Defense stinks. And I think, we'll get to our picks, but I think Cincinnati has a good shot at this.
All right. Number 2 is Detroit at Houston. It's going to be a good game, I think, because Houston's at home. I think it's going to be closer. I think if they're playing in Detroit, this would be an absolute bloodbath. But as far as games go this coming week, that's a good one to look at. David, what are your thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, with all the injuries that Houston has and the way that Detroit is just going through the league lately, like I said, they've lost 2 games, so they're not unbeatable. Anybody's beatable on any Sunday, obviously, with the exception of the Kansas City Chiefs. But seriously, this game would have been a great game to see with both sides on both teams healthy.
Yeah.
If Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, all those cast of characters were there going up against that defense in Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson healthy, I think it would have been probably the game of the week this week without question. Now the luster's off of it a little bit, and I don't see it being much of a challenge for Detroit. Jared Goff's playing out of his mind. I think he's like the last 6 games, he's like over 83% completion percentage, which is unheard of. I mean, it's incredible, just incredible what he's done. So go ahead, Eric.
I mean, Houston's got some injuries. I don't know. I kind of have a bad feeling about Houston going forward. That division stinks. So I mean, they can win 9 games and 10 games and win the division, but I don't have a very good feeling about Houston. And I think Stroud. We talk about sophomore slumps. I think one's coming.
Okay, so the third and final game. This is the game of the week, if not the game of the year. We are talking New York Giants at Carolina. No. Okay. No, actually, the game I want to talk about, and Eric, you go crazy here. Pittsburgh at Washington. This is big. Because and before you talk, I'm sorry. Before the season began, I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers in their schedule and going, okay, if they can get to their bye where they are, like they're going to need everything for that second half of the season. I'm looking at it now. I mean, they got the Commanders, they got the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, the Ravens, Chiefs, and then the Bengals. I thought that was like a gauntlet to run. But you got 2 against the Browns. You got 2 against the Bengals.
So they got 2 games that they should win. There's the Browns games are the games that I will say to you that if I look at those games, I would go 80%, 20%. They should be Pittsburgh wins. Every other one of those games you just said is a toss-up because Washington is much better than people think. And
I just did not think Pittsburgh was going to be like this.
Oh, sure, no, I get it.
So I'm giving Eric.
But I did agree with Eric that I thought Pittsburgh would be at or close to where they are with the beginning part of their schedule. So I did. If you could check my picks for them later, but I do believe that I did agree with Eric that the beginning part of the schedule was where Pittsburgh had to make their money. You know what I mean?
Sure. So like Washington and Philadelphia are not like juggernauts. I know. So Washington beat the Giants 27-22. They're winning games, but the week before they beat the Bears on a Hail Mary. So, and it was a great play, but it wasn't like they went out there and just are kicking everybody's ass. They've got some playmakers. Pittsburgh's coming off a bye. And Cam Sutton's back. I mean that's huge. Beanie Bishop has been playing well, but he's not a coverage guy like Cam Sutton is, and Cam Sutton is a great fit in that because he can play any position on the defensive backfield. So like him coming back football wise, and Corey Trice in the dime package has been really graded high. He's coming back. Patterson, Frazier. I mean, the bye week really helped because a lot of the guys that were hurt are coming back. So I happen to think that right now it's favorable. It's probably one they need to get. I think I've been doing the math, and I said 5-4 gets them to 12 wins at this point. So they have 9 games.
5-4 gets them to 11 wins.
5-4 gets them to 11 wins, right? So 11-6, which guarantees a playoff spot, maybe a division. So 6-3 gets them to 12 wins. So, ideally, Kansas City doesn't look unbeatable, by the way, on Christmas at home in Pittsburgh. I'm okay with that one too. I think this, it just depends on a lot depends on the guys coming back and the continuity, but they could very easily fall on their face, or they could very easily go 7-2 and beat these teams because they have ideally an offense, and they have a really good defense. You can say what you want about the Giants game. It was an aberration. The rest of the season, they only gave up 18 points, by the way. The rest of the season, they've been very consistently good on defense. And if they hold teams under 20 points, they'll win a bunch of those games.
Well, I will tell you this, Eric. Back before the season began, before the bye, you had your Pittsburgh Steelers at 6-2, and then you had them finishing at 11-6.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think I'm not wrong. I mean, I think it could be higher, but we'll see because I think they're better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, you have them losing to Baltimore once, losing to Cleveland once, losing to Cincinnati, and losing to Philadelphia. So
yeah, and so I think they could beat Cleveland twice because Cleveland's worse than I thought they are, and so in Cincinnati, I think a split with Cincinnati, I think a split with Baltimore is fair. I mean, I think those are probably some fair comparisons.
And this is where don't overlook Washington because, you talked about aberrations and stuff like that. And, Washington doesn't look like world beaters. Well, and I don't go on previous shit, but I'm going to say this. You lost to Indianapolis and you lost to Dallas. And those two teams are awful. Awful. I could go back, but I'm not. This is my only issue. I think Washington getting Marshawn Lattimore is going to – I think Russell Wilson is going to have to depend on Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, and the impact Mike Williams makes because I think George Pickens is amazing. Nothing against George Pickens, but I think Lattimore can cancel him out for the most part. So it's going to be the running game, and it's going to be what those other three receivers do. But again, Washington has played well. Jaden Daniels played well. Jaden Daniels, he's going to be making the Pittsburgh defensive line move. He's going to be forcing TJ Watt to chase. So this game is going to be a lot tougher than you think. And again, Washington's been playing good ball. I'm not going to say either way, but it's going to be a great game. It probably is going to be at least the game of the week. So,
all righty. Well, okay, so here we go. We're going to go to this week's pick'em, but let's take a quick look at last week. Jeffrey 13-2. David was 12-3. KD 11-4. Eric and I were 10-5, and Hot Pockets was 12-3.
but guess what?
KD, what's that?
Guess what, Sean? You want to know the best part?
Lay it on me.
Hot Pockets don't get the T-shirt because he didn't beat me.
He does not get the T-shirt. He would have got the T-shirt anyway, but Nick, who took part last week, was 8-7.
Mr. Gilbert, man.
Yeah, he kind of went for some outlandish picks there, but
you should have made it. You should have made it easier and just told me I had to beat Eric.
Well, I'm not, because it comes out of our fund, so I wasn't going to give it away that easy. Sorry, Eric. You got some work to make up here, man. So let's try to think clearly here, and hopefully we can get it going. Okay, so David, we're going to start with you. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Thursday night football.
I'm gonna give this one to Baltimore because they're at home, and just Cincinnati's defense. I do like Cincinnati's offense, but I think if Derrick Henry gets on a roll, it's just going to be a long night because then Baltimore can have their way. They can. So I'm picking Baltimore.
Okay, I am also going to go for Baltimore in this one. Eric,
I'm going the Bengals.
Oh, he's wasted no time. I like it. All right, so Giants at Carolina. I'm going for the Giants. After I saw Danny Dimes on that run, throwing off that commander defender, man, he was pissed. Still lost, but I think the Giants are just a better team than Carolina. So anyway, Eric.
Oh my God, the Giants Carolina, the German game.
Is this the Germany game?
Yeah,
it is the Germany game.
This is us like after like we're still pissed off at World War II. So here are the Giants and here are the Panthers. Congratulations. I mean, it's kind of it's worse than putting up the wall. I mean, so I mean, I'm sorry, Germany. Das ist nicht gut. I feel you. It is not good. I will go the Giants.
All right.
I am going to take the Panthers.
All right. Okay, so now we're back in the United States. Eric, New England at Chicago.
Oh my gosh, this is punishment, boys. These games. I mean, these are really bad.
This one to Australia.
I'll take the Bears.
All right.
This is
David.
the Bears with who?
New England at Chicago.
I'm taking New England. Chicago's awful.
I am going Chicago just because they're at home, and I still think Eberflus gets fired. Okay, David. Buffalo at Indy.
I'm going to take Buffalo.
Okay. I am also going to go Buffalo. Eric?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco.
Ooh. It's enticing, huh? At Indy?
Yep.
Ooh. I'll go Buffalo.
Okay. Then we got Denver at Kansas City. I am going Kansas City. Eric?
Oh, my God. Denver at Kansas. Freaking the Chiefs. When are they going to play anybody? I mean,
week 11.
Nobody for a while.
They play Buffalo week 11.
Oh, they got Buffalo. Yeah, not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, I mean, because you talk about a schedule. I mean, God. But their division's terrible. I got the Chiefs.
David?
I think this game is going to be closer than you all think. It is a division game, and Denver's got a hell of a defense. I'm going to take Kansas City, but it's going to be very close.
All right. David, Atlanta. Oh, no, I just went. I'm sorry. Eric, Atlanta at New Orleans.
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Okay. We're all going for Atlanta on that one. Okay. David, San Fran at Tampa Bay.
You know, McCaffrey's coming back. Tampa Bay is probably demoralized after that game. I'm going San Fran.
I am also going San Fran. Eric?
Tampa Bay at San Francisco, or is it at
No, San Francisco at Tampa Bay.
Give me the Bucs.
Okay. Now me. Pittsburgh at Washington. Damn it. I got to go Pittsburgh. Eric?
So Tomlin gets 2 weeks to study a rookie quarterback. I mean, I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
David?
I'm either going to put Eric back in the race for last place with me, but I like the way Washington's playing, and I'm going to take Washington.
All right.
Not because I hate Pittsburgh. I just like Washington. I like what they're doing. And Marshawn Lattimore is going to make a huge difference in the secondary.
I think he will, but it's one of those things where you're asking a guy to come in on a Wednesday and all of a sudden he's going to know the whole complexity of the defense.
Yeah, he's not the Devontae fucking Adams, man.
Yeah.
Anyway. Shit, I had to go first on that one. So, Eric, this one's to you. Minnesota at Jacksonville.
God, how is Doug Peterson still not fired?
I don't know. But they were down 22, no, 0-22, and then they ended up losing 28-23.
It was asinine. I mean, the whole start of the game. Oh God, it just makes me even more mad. I watched Jacksonville win a couple years ago in the rain because they're so bad. I'm gonna go. Jacksonville's playing who?
Minnesota's at Jacksonville.
I don't care. Minnesota wins.
Yeah, I'm taking Minnesota.
Oh. I'm going to go Jacksonville. They're outside. I don't know, man. Minnesota just – if Minnesota can get up 35-0 in the first half, they're going to win the game. But they're not been a second-half team. Well, last week they did. But okay, so now this one is to David. Tennessee at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Chargers.
All righty. I am also going to go Chargers. Eric?
Chargers and Titans.
Titans at Chargers.
At Chargers. Give me the Chargers.
Okay. Okay, so Philly at Dallas. I am going Philadelphia all day, Eric.
Cooper Rush is 5-1. Do you know that?
Yep, and he's going to be 5-2 after this week.
I'm going to go Dallas.
Wow, Philly, you had the upper. I gave you the opening. I gave you the opening to catch me, and then you go and you totally redeem yourself. You're Lloyd Christmas. That's what I'm calling you from now on. Just put Lloyd.
They got
Christmas
no running backs. They got no receivers. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have defensive ends. They got nothing.
I want you to change your name right now to Lloyd Christmas. And I want you to get a bowl haircut, and you're Lloyd Christmas, man.
I just believe.
You believe.
All right, so here it is, Eric, because at the end of the year, I'm going to look at our standings from this year compared to last year. And David was terrible last year. So, like, if you go even lower than David,
you can eclipse my terribleness.
We are going to have to cut you off from the show, bid you farewell, and thank you very much for your contribution, but you are no longer needed. Okay, so with that being said, Eric, oh, fuck, Jets in Arizona.
I'm going to go Jets.
David.
Give me Arizona.
Okay, so here's my problem. We only have 2 games left, and please, folks, all one of you watching us, bear with me. Every time I pick the Jets to win, they lose. Every time I pick the other team to win, the Jets win. But in this situation, I have to go with the Jets. I think maybe something. If we can win this game, we can spark something. All right, David. Detroit at Houston.
Detroit.
I'm going Detroit also, Eric.
Oh, I need to make up games. Go Houston.
Dude, it's only week 10, man. You got 7 weeks to go. You can win 1 or 2 every week and get right back into it.
I mean, 2 a week would get me into it, but I mean that's a close enough game. I'll take the home team.
You're taking Houston?
All right. And to me, Monday night, Miami at the Los Angeles Rams.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Wow.
How can we not flex that game?
That's it. I mean, from a standings perspective, that might not be it, but that's going to be a good game. I mean, two good offenses playing. That's going to be a good game. They got two good running teams.
I'm going to go with the Rams being the home team on Monday Night Football. Eric.
Rams.
David.
I think Miami's pissed. I'm taking Miami.
All right. So real quick, last week before we head off here, they did flex out Sunday Night Football. So that is happening now. So not this week. It's still going to be Detroit at Houston, but the following week, Indy and Jets have been flexed out of Sunday Night Football, which I'm glad to see they're starting to do. I wish they would do it a little earlier in the season. But anyway, it is nice that they don't put a crap game on Sunday night because if you only got one thing to watch.
They were going to try to flex Buffalo and Kansas City to Sunday night, but CBS held that game as a standalone primetime or afternoon game on their schedule. Yeah. They flexed the Jets to 1 p.m. so that Buffalo is the only CBS game. Buffalo, Kansas City is the only.
They also have Cincinnati and Chargers. It's a game, but everyone that weekend was going to be watching that game. Mm-hmm. But then that following, so next week's Monday Night Football game on November 18th, Houston at Dallas, which I was looking to be like a real good game. I was kind of hoping that was going to be something special, but it's not because Dallas, as Dak Prescott says, we fucking suck. So, all right. Does anyone have any last words here? Or you want to just wind it up? I don't think there's anyone watching anymore.
I'll say
if you want to say something, Eric,
I will say a last word real quick. And this is primarily so not to go there, but just to go there a little bit. No matter what happens tonight, no matter what the results are, don't go hating each other just because I've been working with a guy who I'm going to pick up after work tomorrow who means the world to me, and he is the opposite end of the political spectrum than me, and we were talking today, and it's been 5 years that he's been working for me. We've been together 5 years, and I love the guy. And so no matter what happens, no matter what you wake up to, no matter where you're at, just remember there are controllable things, and the controllable things are the things that how we treat each other and the respect we show each other, no matter what the results of tonight are. So we're not a political show, but it's hard to ignore a presidential election going on. So just remember, love each other, respect each other, and change the controllable things you can control.
Well said, Eric, because that's what I was going to say. Because remember, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, we are all Americans, and no matter who wins, we all want the country to succeed, and that means we all succeed. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to unfriend people, no matter what your opinions are, no matter what your beliefs are. Just know on this show, from all of us here, every one of us respects everybody no matter what. There is no bottom line. There's no line you can't cross. We respect everybody's right. We respect everybody's opinion. We respect everybody's feelings. We do not judge, do not hold ourselves to any higher standard than anybody else. We just want our country to be the best it can be, no matter who it is. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I came from a time, and I think David did too, but we've kind of lost sight of this. And I was always taught you never discuss religion and politics. In 1980, my parents got home from voting. Here I am, a 11-year-old kid, and I asked my parents, who'd you vote for? And it was offensive. Like, they got mad. And I think if we all kind of did that all the time, it'd be much better, because you may have an opinion and you may think you're 100% right, and I can think you're the biggest idiot in the world, and vice versa. This is, everyone's kind of on pins and needles, but it is what it is. And you know what? Tomorrow you're still going to have to get up and go to work.
Mm-hmm. Sean, I will tell you that I was raised the same time you were, except in my household, we talked about it, because even in our households with families, at family get-togethers, at family dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we would sit around the table. The one thing that we would do is we would learn to debate, and we would learn to have discussion, and we would learn to have civil, we would learn to have heated, we would learn to be able to put everything on the table, say what we wanted to say, agree, disagree, do whatever. But guess what? At the end of the day, after all that discussion and all that disagreement or all that agreement, whatever it was, you were all a family. You were all still friends. You all went about your day, night, whatever. You woke up the next day. You still talked to the person. You still cared about the person. You didn't judge the person based on what they believed in and didn't, because you were taught how to have civil discourse and civil discussion without judging a person. That's what this country does need to get back to. Learning how to disagree, yet still respect the other person's opinion. Too many people on the phone and not enough people having conversation. That's what
I couldn't agree more. We are past that point, but we need to get back to it. But anyway. So we've all said our piece. Eric, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, my butt hurts from sitting all day, boys. Have a good night.
Okay. Well, that's not from sitting all day, but that's okay. So we will see you all next week. Please like, notify, subscribe, and I forgot what the hell the last thing is. But anyway, share. And we will see you next week from the couch.
From the couch.